Welcome back to Double D's for Week 8. I'm Daryl.
And I'm Dave.
And we're here with some fantasy stuff for you. We're recovering from our roof from last week. We kind of missed our podcast, had an emergency roofing job at Dave's mom's house.
Yeah, she had a little bit of a leak going through the roof, and there was no waiting. For those of you that don't know, we do live in Wisconsin, and we could get snow tomorrow.
Yes, so we kind of had a little setback with our podcast last week. But we're back again, and, a couple key injuries here. Quite a few, actually. C.J. Anderson, looking like he's done for the year.
Yeah, they put him on IR yesterday officially. 2 days ago, he posted on his Twitter that he was done for the season. They took it down, went and got another opinion. They finally came to the conclusion that they were going to let the public know that C.J. is done for the year.
Yeah, you ain't got Booker yet, and he's still sitting there for some reason. Yeah, you might want him.
If you're a fan of this podcast and our fantasy page, you should already have Booker. I've been talking this guy up since week 4, heavy since week 5. I told you that he could easily take Matt Jones' job over just simply by Matt Jones fumbling the ball, let alone getting hurt. I'm sorry, I'm a little tipsy there. That's Rob Kelly that we'll get into, but C.J. Anderson, he had himself some running problems himself. Not so much on the fumbling level, but Booker's been running like a madman. Again, pick this man up since I've already interrupted myself. Let's just jump right into the Rob Kelly finascal here. Matt Jones went down with a hurt leg. He's looking to lose a lot of time. We're looking at a lot of time here in fantasy world. That could be 2 weeks. And you can get a workhorse like Rob Kelly. A lot of people are looking at Chris Thompson. I'm not a huge fan of him. Rob Kelly's going to be the workhorse. Daryl, what's your opinion on this matter?
Well, pick both of them up if you can and see which one pans out. I mean, you don't know where they're going to go with it. You're not going to go wrong either way. I kind of like Rob Kelly myself over Chris Thompson. Chris Thompson's already kind of proved what he is. Rob Kelly is a little more of an unknown, kind of like Matt Jones' knee injury. It's unknown. You don't know how long this guy's going to be out. Speaking of unknown injuries, LeSean McCoy. LeSean McCoy. This is a guy that he's a great running back when he's healthy. He's not consistently healthy. He's always getting banged up with these little injuries, and cold weather's coming, which means he's even more likely to get injury. That Gillislee, great pickup there for him. Reggie Bush kind of, stole the show last week with his 1 carry, 1 yard, 1 touchdown.
Reggie Bush definitely vultured there. As a past LeSean McCoy owner, I just traded him 2 days ago. Excuse me. I was very upset to hear that he already injured his hamstring. I wanted 1 more big week out of him, maybe 2, and I was going to push him out the door before winter did hit. We know every year this guy gets injured around winter time. I just wanted 2 more good games out of him, and I was going to send him out. These leg injuries are really piling up. Jamaal Charles, Daryl. Jamaal Charles. Spencer Ware looks to be the man in Kansas City right now. What can you tell our fans out there to do about Jamaal Charles?
IR him. I mean, you're not going to drop him. You gotta keep him. Hope he somehow regains some sort of semblance of a fantasy running back. I know I traded for him earlier. Kind of regretting it a little right now, but at the same time, it looked good at the moment. Very first week I got him, he put up 15 points for me with a touchdown. Spencer Ware seized that job. I don't see him giving it up unless Jamaal all of a sudden comes back and regains his form from a couple years past. Hamstring injuries, we got Randall Cobb. Game time decision.
I just went and got Cobb again 2 weeks ago. Traded Cobb away twice this year, brought him back in again. Started him and Ty Montgomery last week. Love that duo there. Devontae Adams for everyone out there. Even the ESPN analyst did not know that he was going to be playing last week. I'm still saying there was some collusion there. Let's just keep our ears open. Stay tuned with our fantasy page. We'll keep you up to date if Randall Cobb will be playing tomorrow because he is a key piece to my team, and I am sweating that one out with you. A lingering injury that we haven't gotten into, Doug Martin. He's had a great backup in Jacquizz Rodgers. This guy has really held up the numbers for them. Where do you have Rodgers this week? Do you have him at that RB2, RB1 level, Daryl? I mean, this guy just keeps putting up the numbers.
I actually have Jacquizz Jaquiz in my top 10 this week. Doug Martin's another one of those running backs that's kind of like LaShawn. He gets injured, and he stays injured. He struggles to put together a fully healthy season. He's slow to recover from injuries. Jaquiz has been workhorsed. I think they keep workhorsing him. I don't see them going away from him. He's established himself that he can carry the workload as a running back.
Well, and I can't disagree with you there. He comes in at 11 on my list at this moment. Let's go through some free agency ads, as there are 6 teams on bye this week. I like Jack Doyle a lot. You brought him up. You actually put him down here on our piece of paper. I agree with you 110%. This guy is seeing a lot of passes from Andrew Luck. He's seeing them in the red zone. If you're having problems at tight end, which a lot of people are, it is the iffiest position in fantasy. Jack Doyle is a great acquisition if you can still go out there and get him.
Jack Doyle. I mean, he got recommended by Pat McAfee. This is the Colts punter. I don't know how many of you have followed this guy on Twitter. Pat McAfee is a pretty hilarious guy if you actually read some of his tweets. He calls Jack Doyle the Chuck Norris of the NFL. I mean, what better recommendation do you get than that? Pat McAfee, love me some Jack Doyle this week.
A Doyle rules.
Doyle rules. Other free agent pickups. I mean, if Ty Montgomery's still there, you got to get him. I don't see the Packers going away from the offense they ran last week. It's the first time in a year that their offense has looked good, where they've putting up points, putting up yards. I get it was against the Bears. This is going to be a week for them to prove it's not a fluke. Brandon LaFell. This guy just keeps scoring touchdowns. He keeps flying under the radar. I picked him up myself, and I'm flexing him this week.
Well, we just talked about this, Daryl. We went over another wide receiver in Julian Edelman. How high up was Julian Edelman in your draft? And then you think to yourself, where's Brandon LaFell? He's in free agency. Well, just going off last week's numbers, Julian Edelman had 9 receptions for 60 yards, and then Brandon LaFell had himself, just 1 second here, 4 receptions for 83 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he just keeps finding the end zone. I agree with you on that pickup 110%. Here's a guy that I bet a lot of you dropped 2 weeks ago. Comes out, one of the only 4 rushers to have back-to-back 200-yard rushing games, and that's Jay Ajayi. Daryl, where is this guy ranked?
This guy better not be on your waivers. I mean, the first week at 200 yards, you got to pick him up. I mean, 200 yards in the NFL by a running back isn't a fluke. He was averaging close to 10 yards a carry that first week. I mean, I know I'm a Dolphins fan, so I'm a bit biased here, but I love that they finally are just feeding this guy the ball and getting away from throwing 40-plus times a game. They cut Arian Foster to the side, which was an ultimate reason, in my opinion, why he decided to just retire, because he's like, hey, I'm not going to get any time. Ajayi just went for 200-plus 2 weeks in a row. How do they get away from that? Well, it's the Dolphins, so I have faith at some point that they're going to just kind of throw him away and get away from giving him 20 times. They're already talking about limiting his workload a little bit. He should still get the ball 20 times a game. It's just he's not going to be carrying 27, 28 times.
Who would have thought when we were talking about the Dolphins, it would be Jay Ajayi, not Jarvis Landry?
Exactly. Jarvis Landry's another one that kind of dropped, just like Mr. Edelman. Jamison Crowder, another good pickup for the Redskins. McCown is back for the Browns. We don't start Kessler. We don't drink Kessler. McCown, I like the man. He gives Duke Johnson more value. I feel that Duke Johnson really dropped off in PPR with Kessler as the QB.
I'm still an Isaiah Crowell fan. This guy is a monster when he gets the ball up the numbers. PPR, still a big fan of Duke Johnson Jr. here. The one question there is, Terrell Pryor, is he going to be healthy enough to go? I mean, he's pretty banged up himself. I would like to feel bad for the Browns, because just when they start to look good, they're putting up points. They just keep getting knocked back down by injuries there. I mean, not to mention the Josh Gordon fiasco, which I'm so glad we're done talking about. This is not all over the media. We're just letting it die down. Barry, let the man either get his head on straight or just go play in the Canadian League.
I agree with you. Almost Hall of Fame talent if he gets his head out of his butt. but he didn't, and he wasted his career. Terrell Pryor, he needs to be healthy for this Browns team. Corey Coleman's not looking like he's going to play at this point. I know they were talking about him catching passes if he was going to play. I don't know.
Yeah, Corey Coleman's not playing this week.
I don't see it.
He's not playing this week. He's definitely looking to play next week. There's someone that we did not go over this week. Dante Moncrief is back. Put him in your starting lineups. He will be there. He's only a flex option right now for me. Still has huge upside with Andrew Luck. But definitely keep your eyes on Corey Coleman if he's on your IR. Get Dante Moncrief off it. Moncrief is back, and Coleman will be back next week.
I agree. Moncrief is a great start. He consistently puts up numbers when he's healthy. He's going to take some pressure off T.Y.
I say it every week. Sorry, Daryl. I say it every week. 9 times out of 10, I prefer the number 2 over the number 1, and Moncrief is the prime example of why I prefer the number 2 over the number 1.
It's a great example, actually. All right, we got a London game here. Redskins, Bengals. Well, you know, I don't see the London hangover effect being enough to stop A.J. Green. Is Josh Norman playing? He's in the concussion protocol. I'm going to count on him not playing. Jordan Reed, he's going to play. The Jeremy Hill combo. They've been very effective as of late between the two of them, no matter how they use them.
Yeah, last week, 9 rushes for Jeremy Hill for 168 yards and 1 touchdown. 2 receptions for 24 yards, no touchdowns. Gio, 17 rushes, 80 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 reception, and 7 yards. A.J. Green, 8 receptions, 169 yards, 1 touchdown. We touched on LaFell with his 4 receptions for 83 yards and a touchdown. I mean, the triple effect of these 3 right here can definitely push them through the long haul. Being a Steelers fan, I am very worried about these Cincinnati Bengals.
I really think I have the Bengals here, 28-24 Redskins. Like I said, they're not going to stop A.J. Green. Kirk Cousins prepping by going to bed early and wearing sunglasses at night, not going to be enough for playing in London this week.
Our score is identical, 28-24 Cincy.
Sometimes we get them right, Dave. All right, Patriots-Bills. You know, I said I wasn't going to bet against Rex, and I would have followed it this week had Shady been 100% healthy. I really would have. With Shady being out, I don't think the Bills have enough. You know, Edelman, we talked about his dropping earlier. No touchdowns, only 125 yards since Brady's return. Half of those yards came last week. But then again, the Patriots offense evolves weekly based on matchups. Brady's got over 1,000 yards, no picks since his return with 3 games. Rex is going to go for being the first team to sweep the Patriots in the Brady era. Ain't happening. I got Patriots 36, Bills 16. Brady goes off. I think Blunt and White, between the two of them, are going to have a monster game again.
Yeah, I believe that has been since 2002. Last week, something I didn't expect, Blunt just comes out. 24 rushes, 127 yards, 2 TDs, 1 reception for 7 yards. The man of the hour, Gronk, 4 receptions, 93 yards, and 1 touchdown. We discuss this all the time. How many tight ends out there do you just feel warm inside with? Plugging in and week out, outside of the Jordan Reed, Delaney Walker. I mean, it is a scarce position. When you have Rob Gronkowski, you just feel warm inside. I have this score, Patriots 28, Bills 17.
Right there with you, Dave. We got Jets and Browns. I think this is going to be the Browns' best chance to win a game this year, with McCown back especially. You know, the quarterback situation for the Jets, I know Geno's out. Fitz, it doesn't really matter who starts there. I think the Jets are going to throw up a slot fest. I have the Browns 23, Jets 20, with McCown leading the way. I think Brandon Marshall will have a big game, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
I'm on the opposite spectrum here. I'm Jets 31, Browns 17. Fitzpatrick coming back is just going to go beast mode. Forte last week, 30 rushes, 100 yards, 1 TD. He did have a fumble, and he lost the fumble. He also had 4 receptions for 54 yards and a touchdown. I don't know. I think Brandon Marshall's going to have a big week against this Browns defense. They just, they haven't been the same. Fitzpatrick's got a little fire lit up under him after the ownership. Excuse me. Lost all faith in him. Again, working outside last week. Sorry about this little bit of a tickle in my throat here, everyone, but we do got to move through it. Kevin Hogan. Yeah, he was 12 for 24, 100 yards, 0 TDs, 2 interceptions, 7 rushes, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Are they not even looking at this guy to be the quarterback over possibly Josh McCown? Is Josh McCown 100% healthy? I mean, these numbers aren't amazing. The 2 interceptions are a little iffy. You're going up against a Jets defense, though, that just lets you pass all over them. The 104 yards and a TD on the ground, I mean, obviously this guy can use his feet. Can really open him up to go find himself a Gary Barnidge who had 6 receptions for 66 yards. It'll be a very interesting game to watch.
I agree. I think Forte is going to have a return to his norm from the first couple weeks this year. I have him and Brandon Marshall in my top 10 this week, PPR. All right, we got Chiefs-Colts. We talked about Spencer Ware. He's a stud. Macklin's become ignored in this offense. Frank Gore, I love Frank Gore. He flies under the radar. He's top 10 in rushing this year with 495 yards on the year. He only needs another 204 yards to pass Tony Dorsett and move up even further in the top 10 all time. I don't see, as much as I'd like to say the Colts, I don't think they pull it off. I got Chiefs 24, Colts 20. Andrew Luck's got this turnover bug. Even with Moncrief back, I don't think it's going to be enough. The Chiefs are on a roll here.
Sir, where'd you get Frank Gore in your keeper draft? Give or take.
God, 7th round, 6th round.
Here is that value. 17 rushes, 61 yards, 5 receptions, 22 yards, and a touchdown in the 7th round. People, open up your eyes. Year in and year out, you can get Frank Gore after your 5th round, and that's where all your value comes because everyone's going after those diva picks in the top 5 rounds. Right now, where'd you take Jordan Reed? Top 4? Exactly. Go look at someone else. Flex a running back.
These are the players that win you leagues, especially with FlexBox. Frank Gore was like I believe he was my 4th running back taken. You know what? I've started him every week in the flex, and every week he's a consistent producer. He produces again here today. Like I said, I don't think it's enough. What you got on this game, Dave?
Well, first off, you touched on Macklin, and here's just some numbers. It just shocks me. Last week, 4 receptions, 40 yards, right? No touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 1 reception, 38 yards, and a touchdown. What is going on here with the Chiefs? I don't know. Massive amounts for Spencer Ware, 17 rushes, 77 yards, no touchdowns, 2 receptions, 54 yards, and 1 touchdown. I have this score, Colts 24, Chiefs 21.
Pretty close there. All right, we got Seahawks Saints. Seahawks coming after 6-6 exciting tie in Arizona. Russell's still hurt. Got a knee injury. Breeze at home. I know it's against the Seahawks, D, but Cam Chancellor's out. Michael Bennett's out. And it's still Breeze at home. This man is a beast at home. He's averaging 350 yards per game this year. All it takes is I know you're not big on Brandon Cooks, but all it takes is for him to get deep one time.
At home,
I'm good with at home on turf.
I'm good with Cooks.
Exactly. Snead and Thomas, they're kind of turning into a timeshare. I think I have Seahawks 27, Saints 21. This is Jimmy Graham's homecoming. He goes off. Because let's face it, the Saints D couldn't stop Watoma's high school football team.
I have this score, Saints 24, Seahawks 21.
All right, we got Raiders Buccaneers. Derek Carr, he's turning into a fantasy stud. Mike Evans, he's established that he's a fantasy stud. We got, last week, we had the return of Latavius. It completely opens up this offense. Cooper and Crabtree, they're one of the top wide receiver duos for fantasy purposes in the NFL this year. Jaquiz for the Buccaneers, he's a complete workhorse. I think Jameis makes just enough mistakes to lose this game. I got Raiders 28, Buccaneers 27 in a close game down to the end.
Touching on Derek Carr, he had one of his off weeks last week. No interceptions, no fumbles. He was 23 for 37, 200 yards, 1 TD, 4 rushes for 4 yards. Murray did handle the load with 18 rushes for 59 yards and 2 TDs. Little food for thought, Daryl. How many different players rushed the ball last week for the Oakland Raiders?
Oh, gosh. I know you kind of touched on this with me earlier. Was it like 6?
7. 7 different players rushed the ball. And don't quote me, I don't think I added Derek Carr in on that list, so it very well could be 8. It's such a sketchy backfield. If you don't own Latavius Murray, you don't play anyone else there. It's just so iffy. He's the guy. You don't need him to get more than 60 yards. I said this 2 weeks ago on the podcast. Or maybe it was 3 weeks ago because he still had his toe injury. He just gets in the end zone. That's what he does. He's going to get you your touchdown to 2 touchdowns a game. I have no problem with him. I actually have the Raiders 26, Tampa 24.
Talking about that many carries split between that many running backs, I'm a firm believer. I get having your running back by committee thing to a point. I'm a firm believer that a lot of running backs, it's like basketball, Dave. If you shoot once every 6 minutes in a game, you're not going to get in a rhythm. A running back needs to get the ball over and over to get into a rhythm. Find his holes in each defense specifically. I don't see this being an effective format. Fine, you want to split between 2 guys? Not amongst 7.
Well, how do you think the Bulls went and got a W? They got rid of Derrick Rose. They got into a flow. They moved the ball around. They didn't have a guy bring the ball up the court 3 seconds and then dribble the ball around for another 15. No, they run and gun the ball up the court with Rondo. They move the ball around, and Jimmy Butler's happy. He's like, I have Dwayne Wade. He went 4 for 6 from 3.
Well, not just that, but Rondo is probably, in my opinion, the best passing point guard in the NBA right now.
Oh, and I love Rondo. I got him in the 7th round. I wouldn't have it any other way. Sorry to dabble into the basketball. We will get into it later on in the week. Keep up to date on our Facebook page. It is quite exciting. All right.
We got Arizona in Carolina. Carolina has given up a league worst 13.4 yards per catch. I don't see Arizona doing it this week. Carson Palmer, he seems to have gotten old really fast. David Johnson's their whole offense, and Larry Fitzgerald's left to wonder what the hell happened. I mean, this is a team that was in the playoffs with a legitimate chance. A lot of people thought Super Bowl bound last year, right, Dave? I mean, and what's happened to them? This can be said for both teams. I have Carolina 31, Arizona 17. I still think it's too little, too late to salvage Carolina's season.
I am on the opposite spectrum here again this week. It seems like we're differentiating a little bit. There's one thing that I think you have a little too low, and that's 17 points for Arizona. David Johnson will have 3 touchdowns in this game. I'm telling you, David Johnson is the future. We had this discussion earlier. There is only one running back that I will even let come close to the platform of my man Le'Veon Bell, and that is David Johnson. 33 rushes for 113 yards, 8 receptions on 58 yards, and that was against Seattle. Not to mention, they very well could have given him that touchdown for his foot hitting the pylon when they didn't, and they would have ended up winning that game. I myself have this game Arizona 28, Panthers 21. The Panthers defense has looked very scarce this year. I haven't seen Cam Newton look the same in weeks. I said earlier in the year, I don't see me ever having him outside my top 3 quarterbacks. He barely made my top 10 this week. He really needs to prove something to me for me to change my view.
This is one of those games that could go either way. I'm not going to lie. I had a tough time taking Carolina. I'm basing it on the fact that I think Cam's going to go off. I think he's due. I really do.
It is in Carolina.
Well, that hasn't mattered so much this year to this point, but
Henry, I'm coming for David Johnson.
Look out. All right, we got Lions, Texans.
Tigers and Bears.
Oh, my. The Lions are on pace for the worst pass defense in NFL history. They're giving up a passer rating of 117.3. They're letting teams complete 74.2% of their passes.
Wait, so their defense sucks and they have like a bottom 3 quarterback in Brock Osweiler?
No, the Lions.
Oh, Lions.
The Lions.
Sorry.
Oh, no. We'll get to the mess on the Texans side. That one's just as ugly. And not only that, with the Lions D, their top cornerback is out this week. So it's going to be even uglier. But guess what? They have the perfect cure in playing Brock Osweiler. Was last week's complete flop? Was it a product of playing a Denver defense that knows the man? Or is Osweiler just that bad? I think it's just that Osweiler is that bad. The Texans are 29th in offense. I have the Lions 24, Texans 17. I I don't see anything positive in Houston.
I don't see a lot positive there, and even worse, Lamar Miller is seriously banged up. He was very questionable to even play this week. He is going to lace them up, although everyone should know. I have Alfred Blue ranked one spot ahead of him. If you have a free spot on your bench, go out there, take a stash spot on Alfred Blue. Look at what happened with CJ. Look at what happened with LaShawn. If you're a Lamar Miller owner, you need to own Alfred Blue. You need to be a handcuffer. I'm a firm believer in it. It has bailed me out many times this year. Brock Osweiler last week. The dude threw the ball 41 times, okay? 131 yards. That average is below insane. It shouldn't have been that, okay? The words can't come to my mind.
Piss poor comes to my mind.
No TDs, no interceptions. One fumble lost, and he threw that fumble, mind you. It was one of the most hilarious things ever. I have this score, Detroit 31, Texans 24. Everyone out there should know Theo Riddick is coming back. He's definitely going to open up the offense for the Lions, especially with the starting center going down last week. My assumptions were correct. The Lions were in a very hurtful spot until that, I think there was, under 20 seconds left when Anquan Bolden scored that touchdown.
That sounds right.
Don't get me wrong. I wanted it to happen because I don't want the Packers to make the playoffs. But, again, they did not move the ball the way they normally move the ball, and that starting center was a huge loss for them. Marvin Jones, again, I've said it week in and week out. He's a standard play, not a very good PPR play. 4 receptions for 94 yards. He's a big ball catcher. I kind of want to see this game. I think Hopkins is going to have a little bit of a game. I like their tight end. I cannot say his name for the life of me. Fedorowicz. Fiedorowicz. Go look him up. I'm awful with names.
It's one of those weird Polish names, Dave. You're never going to pronounce it.
5 receptions, 35 yards. This is one of those teams where they're going to give it up across the middle. They're not going to let you beat them deep. They got a pretty good run D. I know Detroit's D isn't amazing, but when you look at what they're going to be going up against, I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I mean, Will Fuller's been very obsolete the last couple weeks. The guy can very well go and get you a touchdown. Again, go Detroit, go Minnesota, Chicago. Good luck.
All right, we got Chargers in Denver. Joey Bosa. This man held out. I'm thinking flop, just like his old man was. Hey, I'm a Dolphins fan. His old man did the same stuff, holding out with the Dolphins, turned into absolutely nothing. Well, he's kind of turned into a force. He's got 20 pressures in 3 games. In 3 games. With no training camp, nothing. Is it enough to turn this defense around? No. San Diego's got too many injuries. Melvin's still a stud. I think Rivers is going to start his yearly meltdown that happens in the second half. Devontae Booker is going to prove beyond a doubt that he's better than CJ in this game. Denver, they're kind of putting an APB out on Demarius and Emmanuel because these guys have just been sliding and sliding and sliding. I have Denver 20, San Diego 14. The last time they played, Denver lost, but they were without Gary Kubiak, their coach. I think that was a huge factor. They were on the road in San Diego the other time. This time they get it done at home.
Oh, yeah, they're in the mile high right there. It just adds the altitude factor, really puts on a lot of pressure and strain on players and teams in general, unless you're the Atlanta Falcons, because they just went in there and did some work. Tevin Coleman tore them apart. I'm a little salty having to talk about Melvin Gordon. I touched with you on this. I had to play Mike Evans and Melvin Gordon in my standard last week. I ended up losing by 20 points on a bad managerial move. What are you going to do? We move on from that. Melvin Gordon, 22 rushes, 68 yards, 2 TDs, 6 receptions, 53 yards, 1 touchdown. This guy's volume is insane. He's a top 3 running back week in and week out. I don't care the matchup that he plays. Simeon, I don't mind him. He's a smart quarterback. I would like, with the receivers, he has 2 number 1s on his team. He needs a little bit more of a gunslinger mentality. Who's Emmanuel Sanders? A step down from Antonio Brown. I said that. Chuck the effing ball up and let him go get it. You're talking about one of the top 3 fastest players in the NFL still, even at his age. I mean, come on. 14 for 25, 157 at a TD. You should have 3 TDs up there. I mean, I know you got a good run game, Booker can block, Booker can catch, Booker can run. I've talked Booker up since week 4. Go back, you can put it in the books, and said the same exact thing. He was going to take CJ's job over, whether it was an injury or just a flaw in CJ's game. This guy is the real deal. He's my number 1 ad this week. If you can somehow still get him, go get him, but good luck. He's been getting scooped up the last couple weeks. I have this score, Denver 24, Chargers 21.
I agree with you completely on the receiver scenario. You know, especially with a receiver with the speed of Emmanuel or the size of Demarius. You know, you have somebody, we talked about Dez early this year, Alshon. These players, you know what? Sometimes you just need to chuck it up and let them either do Dez things or knock it down.
The thing that I like about the Denver Broncos in the Dez Emmanuel scenario, if they're winning, they don't care about not getting the ball. But if you're not going to go get that W, you better make sure to force feed them that ball. I think this is a guaranteed win for them this week in Mile High. If they lose, I will be super shocked. I'm definitely high on Denver this week, and their defense has just looked fierce.
Wow.
And they're getting Ware back. You know, Ware's got to be coming back anytime.
That's a huge defensive factor for him.
6 weeks, so I mean, we're at week 8. He's got to be back in the next 2.
Instant upgrade to their pass rush. Now, what cheeseheads are dreading, Green Bay in Atlanta. You know, the Packers offense, in my opinion, and A-Rod in particular, has to prove that last week wasn't just a fluke. I mean, it was the Bears. That was always the recipe for the Packers to get back on track. Rodgers is averaging 6.3 yards per attempt, the worst since he became a starter in this league. A starter. That's a very, very large sample size. This offense is not where it wants to be, anywhere near. Davante Adams and Randall Cobb, guess what? This year they're better than Jordy. I know people don't want to hear that because Jordy was drafted way higher. I mean, who drafted Davante Adams? Nobody. Ty Montgomery in the backfield did open it up. I think they stick with that. But here's the problem here. Matt Ryan leads the NFL with 2,348 passing yards. Green Bay's secondary, guess what? They're non-existent. Mr. Julio Jones. Okay, you want to hear something funny? Micah Hyde was asked, how do you guard Julio Jones? You know what his answer was, Dave? Pray. You pray. And that's exactly what the Packers secondary is going to be doing here. I think the Falcons throw the heck out of the ball. Packers struggle on the road in a dome. Atlanta 38, Cheeseheads 21.
That is quite the differential in numbers. I don't disagree with you there that Julio is going to have himself a hootin' tootin' day. And if Matt Ryan can actually throw him the ball in stride, he'll have himself a couple touchdowns instead of him having to come back and get the ball like a couple weeks ago when they were playing Carolina.
Yes.
I have the score, Falcons 24, Packers 21. Key note here, Davante Adams, I think, is going to be the best receiver in this game. He had 132 yards, 2 TDs. Cobb had 11 receptions for 95 yards on the TD. Nelson, 1 reception, 9 yards. Nelson barely made my top 30 this week. I believe I have him at 27 or 28. And it's nothing against him. He's not 100% healthy. He's not how he should be. He could still go out there and get that touchdown, so he's got to be in your top 30. Ty Montgomery, his upside between rushing the ball and catching the ball is insane. I'm a Packer owner. I have Ty Montgomery. I have myself Randall Cobb. I'm very scared about Randall Cobb's hamstring injury, though. That's a GTD. And if they're even iffy about it, I know he could catch just a 5-yard pass and be a decoy. I don't like it because Aaron Rodgers could easily just start firing the ball to Richard Rodgers or bring in Jeff Janis. I mean, they did release Jared Abbrederis. They actually gave him a settlement. They bought out his contract due to injuries. Abbrederis lives about maybe 10 minutes from where we do this podcast. We wish him the best of luck, good health. We want to see him get on another team. Small town, big pride. Good job for even getting out there, Jared. Again, 24 Falcons, 21 Packers. I cannot wait to watch this game. It's the game of the day that I want to watch.
I agree with you there, Dave. I think that's the game of the weekend. Well, that and we want to see the Packers lose. I'm sorry, not to be biased that way. I'd love to see that happen.
Well, I also like to get drunk and yell at the TV, and no better way to get drunk and yell at the TV than during the Packer game.
Oh, you know that. All right, we got Eagles in Dallas. Now, this is a game. A lot of playoff implications here. Eagles a game back, divisional rivals. Philly's their defense. You called it beginning of the year. They're going to be a top fantasy D. They're third in points allowed, fifth in total yards. They got 20 sacks. But then we got Mr. Dak. He is the real deal, guys. And I love me some Dak. This guy, 103.9 passer rating so far. And Zeke, what can you say? I mean, they're just going to keep riding Zeke. They have to. At this point, when Romo comes back, he's not starting. His job's gone. I have Dallas 24, Philly 16. I think Carson Wentz gets outplayed by Dak. Dallas doesn't turn the ball over very often. Not saying they won't here. I'm just saying Carson Wentz is going to turn the ball over more than Dallas.
Here's what I have to say. Fuck my life. I've traded Zeke twice. And it was early in the year. I got him, I sold him, and you got to understand, when I got rid of him, I got big packages for this guy. With how my team's sitting, I lost Eddie Lacy. I had to get rid of LaShawn McCoy. I just traded Antonio Brown away this last week, and my team is still number one. You can push a number two in the league if you want, but I am pretty stacked from top to bottom. I love the Eagles defense. I am infatuated, with the Eagles defense. I want to see them bring the physicality they do on the road that they do when they're at home. They just shredded the Minnesota Vikings apart. Even the offense, within reason. I mean, who have we seen go out there and just score on the Minnesota defense? I have this game, surprisingly, Eagles 24, Cowboys 21. Dez is coming back. I'm hoping with his little attitude problem that he has, that he's going to give some bad chemistry off, that he's not seeing the ball. We got to remember, even with the 2 weeks that he was there, the best game that he had was, I think it was 2 or 3 catches total and 1 in the end zone. Didn't even get himself 15 fantasy points. I think Jason Witten's value goes through the roof more than anyone else. In the wide receiver play, they got to focus more on Dez, not as much on Witten. I have nothing negative to say about Zeke Elliott. This guy has been a beast. He went and ran all over the Packers. You made a very good comment earlier before we started recording. I want to see someone stop Zeke. And if there's going to be a team to do it, it's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles in Dallas. And if they do that, we know Philly is the real deal. I know Dak hasn't turned the ball over, but one time total this year?
Green Bay.
Wentz has been throwing a couple picks. Let's look at who he's played. Definitely some tougher teams. I'm still high on the Eagles because they took down my Steelers in such a brutal fashion. Again, I want to see them do it on the road.
I agree with you there on Zeke. I mean, when he went into Green Bay against the run D that was giving up, at that point, I think like 60 yards a game.
Second in the league.
Yeah, they were second in the league. They were giving up less than 2 yards a carry at that point, I believe, and he just went in and destroyed them. If a team's going to do it, it's going to be Philly. I'll give you that one. But at this point, it's like betting against Rex Ryan. I don't want to do it, and I'm not betting against Zeke right now. I mean,
I'm betting against
who
Jerry
stopped
Jones.
him?
I'm betting against Jerry Jones.
And Dez throwing chemistry off. That I'll give you.
Who's to say Dak doesn't get a turnover early in the game? Romo's out there just with his stuff on, whether he's going to play or not. He's like, no, panic mode. I'm going to go bring me in Mr. Romo. I mean, far-fetched, yes. I mean, again, don't play Ryan Matthews. If you can hear me, don't play Ryan Matthews. Put Darren Sproles in. If you look at the numbers throughout the weeks, Ryan Matthews, 14 rushes, 56 yards. He had a fumble loss. He had 1 reception for 27 yards. These are not numbers that I like against Dallas. I don't want you to run up the gut on Dallas. I want you to dump the ball off and let Sproles go do his thing. It's the same theory with Detroit Lions and Theo Riddick. Ryan Matthews has fumbled in almost every single game that he's played in. He caught his first career touchdown pass. It was either last week or the week before, and he only had 1 reception last week. What is the point of putting this guy on the field if they know that he's only going to run the ball? I mean, Dallas's defense is not bad.
Speaking of Jerry Jones, nothing would surprise me coming from Jerry Jones. That's all I have to say on that, man. That guy is completely unpredictable. Nothing surprises me. You can't expect anything even resembling a sense of normalcy coming from him.
Do you think Dez is there after this year?
Wow. I think Dez will be there this next season if he shows he can mesh with this offense, if he turns into the pouty Dez that we've come to see in years past, I think they'd be smart to shop him. But then again, this is Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones loves Dez, but he loves one thing more than Dez and one thing more than Romo, and that's winning. And that's something the Cowboys are doing right now. And they can't sacrifice that for a pouty Dez Bryant or for trying to go back to the nostalgia of Tony Romo.
He could kill team chemistry just with his attitude on the sideline. And someone that I would love to see Jerry Jones bring in next year, Adrian Peterson. You bring AP in as you got a 1-2 punch with Zeke. Let Zeke remain the man. But now you got, instead of Alfred Morris or Lance Dunbar vulturing on the one, you're bringing in AP just to make sure you get the ball in that end zone. Come playoff time, we're inside the 20, we're just going to rotate whoever's got the high. You know what I'm saying? I mean, could you think of a better free agency acquisition for that type of offensive line?
Let's be real. I think AP would love it. He's from Texas, and it would be the best offensive line, hands down, he's ever played behind. Ever. Speaking of AP, going Minnesota-Chicago. Here's something interesting. I was looking on ESPN, and they break down overall scoring regardless of position. Guess what? Minnesota's defense is top 35. Top 40. I can't remember the exact number. Overall scoring regardless of position.
Like 2 weeks ago, they were 17.
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous. These guys are outscoring quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, their defense.
I've made trade offers for them.
Number one fantasy defense, and they show why this week. You know why? Because it's the return of Smokin' Jay. When the coach says he's done with Cutler, and then Cutler's, kind of forced back into the starting spot, they ask him, do you feel like you have Coach Fox's support? Well, I guess he doesn't really have a choice at this point. That's not what you wanted to hear. This is a divided locker room. The only people that are happy about Jay Cutler starting, Alshon Jeffrey owners. Jay Cutler's shown he's going to force feed Alshon the ball. Definitely not going to be enough. I see Minnesota's D forcing 3, maybe 4 turnovers, probably getting in the end zone once themselves. I have Minnesota 31, Chicago 10, and that 10's kind of pushing it, assuming Alshon breaks one.
We're pretty dang close on this game. I have Minnesota 35, Bears 10. I think this is going to be another breakout game for Bradford. Last week, you got to understand, he went up against Philadelphia's defense in Philadelphia. He had 1 TD, 1 interception, 2 fumbles lost, 24 for 41, 224. Look for him to throw over 300 yards, and this is a very conservative pass thrower. My number one play this week for the Minnesota Vikings, Kyle Rudolph.
Yes.
I like me some Kyle Rudolph, and I think he's going to have himself a big game. With Jerick McKinnon looking to be out, Asiata is going to be the man up the gut. My favorite receiver here, obviously, everyone likes Stephon Diggs, but my sleeper receiver here is Adam Thielen. This guy last week on the Philadelphia defense, 2 receptions for 52 yards. He's a big playmaker. He's got very secure hands. Jordan Howard owners out there need to be worried. Carey's outrushed him the last 2 weeks, and Langford's looking to be back. It's going to be a 3-headed monster mess of a backfield. If you went out and paid for Jordan Howard, I am sorry, but to lick your wounds a little bit, go get Carey, handcuff him, find yourself the hot back. Maybe one goes down, and you got it. I like Alshon. Alshon fell quite a bit, but you're playing Minnesota's defense. I have him in my top 25. It just takes that one big play. That's why I do respect Jay Cutler. He's going to give his guys a chance to go get it.
Now, talking Bradford, he had an interception last week. I do believe that was his first one on the year.
I'm not 100% positive, but I'll go with that.
I think it was. I really do, because we were talking about it before, who had, 6 touchdowns, or who hadn't thrown an interception, and it was at that point Hoyer and Bradford. Mm-hmm. Now, you're right. Bradford, I think he proves it again. Why did he have kind of a poor week last week? I don't know. Philly's D is a top defense. Yeah. And guess what? Not only they're a top defense, they know Bradford. They know him.
Oh, yeah.
They know how to read the guy. I mean, they had him as their QB, so they know his tendencies. They know his weaknesses. I'm sorry, Chicago fans. I'm sorry, Kane. Your Bears suck. I've been there. I've been a Dolphins fan. I know how it goes.
Yeah, even worse, your Cubs are down 2-1 to the Indians. Yeah, there's just, some things. I mean, Kind of touching on it next week early because we really don't do a lot of Thursday talk. I post on our Facebook page. I hate Thursday games.
Yeah.
And we have one of the best matchups of the week next week on Thursday. Atlanta Falcons versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We got Hootin' Tootin' Julio Jones, Mike Evans, Jameis Winston, Matt Ryan, Devonta Freeman, Jacquizz Rodgers, possible Doug Martin back. Probably not on the short week. And it has to be Thursday night. NFL, can we get rid of these Thursday night games? Your numbers are taking a hit. Oh, it's the presidential debate. Oh, it's the World Series. No, your Thursday night games suck. And now you got a primetime game, or a game that everyone would want to watch, but they're on a short week of rest. No one wants to see that. I'm going to have a problem starting Matt Ryan at quarterback on Thursday because of it being a short week. I'll go find someone in free agency. Who's playing the Browns? Are the Browns on bye? I don't know. Let me look.
Well, you know, and
Week
that's
9. Nope, Browns aren't on bye. Guess I'll be fucking starting whoever's playing them.
I mean, you're talking these short week games. You know, the NFL, teams struggle on the short weeks. Why? They get like one walkthrough practice in, and then it's time to go.
They rested. Normally it's 3 days of rest.
Right.
So
they're not getting much. And if the NFL is all about player safety, and yes, I put that in air quotes, if it's all about player safety like it says they are and not about money, guess what? Thursday night games wouldn't happen, people. They just wouldn't.
They're despicable to watch. They're awful to watch. 9 times out of 10, they're teams that nobody wants to watch. I watched the basketball game on Thursday night more than I watched the football game. I turned back in time to watch DeMarco Murray score. I want to say, God, who was I watching? I don't know. The Lakers were on later at night. Yeah, I switched the Bucks off. They were just murdered by Charlotte.
Yeah.
It was a disappointment. I knew this was going to happen, though, with Chris Middleton going down for 6 months. He's a huge part of our team. You know, we brought Tony Snell back, got rid of MCW. Monroe's talking about locking in the next year. We're talking about trading them. You know, if you're a Bucks fan, you're from the Wisconsin area, go watch your games this year because they're going to be awful for the next 5 years to come, and ticket prices are going to double next year in the new stadium.
I agree with you there, Dave, and that's kind of a shame. I mean, I've been going to games as much as possible in the past couple of years, and watching the freak grow into who he's become is just a great thing. And then it's going to be a point where you're going to be paying $50-$60 to sit in nosebleeds.
You just got me pissed, and it's not you. I hate Jabari Parker. He is fucking garbage. I am a Duke faithful, a Duke fanatic. You look at my brackets, they'll always be in the Final Four of the championship. I don't care.
Not a horrible pick.
Coach K. I despise Jabari Parker. Oh, he's averaging over 30 points in the Chicago Summer League that he's playing in, and yada yada. Put him up against the real NBA players. What is he doing? Nothing. Garbage. Get max value for this guy before he has no value. I've preached this for the last 2 years. You're not a huge Duke fanatic, Duke faithful, and you still, hey, we gotta keep this guy. We gotta ride him out. We should have traded him 2 years ago.
All it was I was like, hey, give him a chance. Maybe he can be that person. And guess what? That was established long ago that he isn't that person. I agree with you. They need to dump his ass. And you know what? Another one. Greg Monroe.
We've been trying to trade him.
Nobody wants Greg Monroe. At least we dumped MCW. I don't care who they got for him. They could have gotten garbage. Instead, they got Tony Snell. At least he's a workable player. But MCW, just get his salary out of here. I understand he was Rookie of the Year, but guess what? Rookie of the Year, that and, a buck will buy you a soda somewhere.
Well, and it's hard to get max value for him now with, a lot of the free agency class coming up at the end of this year.
Yes.
Some people re-signed already and whatnot, but, they're not going to be shipping a lot of people out. So, Kevin Love, are we getting Kevin Love for Jabari freaking Parker? No. Why? Because Kevin Love's a stretch 4. He can shoot the 3. We need a stretch 4. Jabari can't shoot the 3. From 18 and in, he can hit.
You mean Mirza Teletovic isn't a stretch 4, Dave?
Oh, my God. Okay, now tell me how much I bitched about our free agency ads. We went and got Deli and Teletovic for all this money, and we couldn't go fucking pay Jared Dudley? Are you career 40%?
2 years ago, they should have signed Dudley. Huge bench player.
We spent, how much money did we spend? What was it, $60 million between Teletovic and
like
Deli? an insane amount of money, and I watch all these free agents go for like $15K less. Yeah, give me one free agent over those two.
I must say though, I did like the Deli signing.
Yeah,
even
Deli,
at that price,
yeah,
that was huge.
He's cute. He's not getting us any W's.
But we'll get back to football here for a second. Sorry, guys. We're passionate about our basketball. This is going to be happening. We're going to be doing more about basketball as the year goes on. You know, we had our weekly winner for the league. Started the draft. I'm a very proud James Harden owner at the number 2. Took him over Westbrook.
Yeah, Danny got the number 1 pick, actually.
Yes, he did.
We're going to be doing another giveaway within this next 2 weeks. We want to do another league because we're only in one, but we're going to give our fans and our friends, you know, an extra week or two to really listen and sign up. We'll let you know ahead of time when the secret word's going to be coming, but please stay tuned. If you don't play fantasy basketball, that's fine. We're telling you, football's done by the end of December. You know, this is something that's going to ride you through April to March. You know, you're going to have something to look at, something to do. We're here to help you. We have at least 6 first-timers in our league right now that are continuously asking us questions. A lot of them we know, but we are there to help you whether we personally know you or not.
Unless you're playing against me that week, then you can't trust my advice.
You can trust mine.
All right, we got our Belichick or bust, Dave. We did miss that one with the basketball segue. What do you got for Belichick or bust, Mr. Dave?
I've talked him up quite a bit over the last couple weeks. I would love to go with Devontae Booker, but I think he's a lock to get you double-digit points. My number 1 is Rob Kelly for the Washington Redskins. You know, there's a lot of talk out there that Chris Thompson could go get those numbers, but I firmly believe Rob Kelly is your man. My number 2 here, Adam Thielen, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. For some reason, if Stephon Diggs gets locked down, I don't know what bear is going to do that. But Adam Thielen is their big play man. He's got very surefire hands. I know they still have Cordell Patterson there, but Adam Thielen is my man.
Man, I was kind of torn on this a little bit, but I got to go with Brandon LaFell for one. They're playing in London. The Redskins' pass defense doesn't really scare anybody. And now this one. It's kind of a push for a Belichick or bust, but he is playing to Seattle's defense. Seattle's defense is such a vaunted pasty. Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees has a game. The problem is his defense isn't going to have enough of the game to win it. Those are my 2.
He's probably my favorite DFS play at $7K right now. His upside could be 400 yards and 4 touchdowns with a pick.
And even $7K. Even his bad game, he's going to give you a 340, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. I mean, let's be real. That's his bad game. That's not a horrible game for a QB.
No, and absolutely. I mean, you know, it should be fun to watch. It should be a good game. There was something else I wanted to talk about. It kind of just slipped my mind here. Who knows? I'll post it up on the Facebook wall. Definitely. Everyone stay active. Stay tuned. Sorry about the little bit of a chest cold this week. Again, we were outside in some pretty crappy weather last week, helping my mother with her roof. Thank you for staying loyal and faithful. And, until next time.
Okay, I got something for next time. This one's for you, Jabari Parker. Gryffindor!